Hi, welcome to my scoop video. This video can make a scoop just like this. It's going to be 2 turnings. 1, it's going to result in looking like this. 2, it's going to result in looking like this. So, I've made a number of these and I want to show you a little bit of the vision. Why this long, why this wide, why a couple of details. So take a look over here. So on the table here, I've got a number of scoops that I've made. Some in process, some I pulled from the kitchen, some different types, some different proportions, some just barely started. So I like to start with a scoop like this. This is what I use to scoop my coffee in the morning. This casts a little bit of a vision for functional wood turning. And I'm really attracted to the beauty of the piece as it's got a little bit of a patina. You start to think less about the turning not being perfect, and it becomes a bit of your daily life. So there's a couple attributes that we need to figure out as we make a scoop. How wide will it be this way? How long? And what angle will it come out at? This will make a little bit more sense as you see the video. So, right now I'm particularly attracted to the function of a much larger scoop. This is probably 3.5 inches across the bowl and maybe about a 3-inch handle. So, and keeping it very, very thin. You can see approximately there. In another video we'll go over this scoop here. But for the most part, obviously there's different proportions. These have their own issues. The first turning results in this. So let's get started.
Alright, I'm roughing down from square to round. I want to maximize how much diameter this blank can give me. This is the handle end of the blank. I'm roughing down with the skew chisel. I can see a bit of a ghost image up above the blank that I'm shooting to not exceed. Creep up on it a little bit more here. Now I'm going to chase a crack that was up at this end of the blank that I don't want to get into the scoop. This is the non-handle end, making a waste nub. It'll get cut away later. I want this cut to come in square. Crack appears to be gone. Grab my calipers, get the diameter, and mark it as a length, because that's how a sphere works, right? Now this is the handle side. I can continue that roughing cut way down to the handle. Do some aggressive, sloppy peeling cuts here with the skew and sneak up on that line we just etched. I can see it a lot better than you. There it is. Keep the skew chisel square. And there we go. That's most of the wood of this turning removed. Now let's mark the center with a pencil. I'll eyeball it here, but this will just be a reference. For the most part, I'm going to turn from that line down to where this square line here intersects. The spindle gouge really makes excellent work of pulling away these corners. So just start to eye some curves that I know are wider than a sphere. And slow up as I get closer because we're inching up on a shape. And the end of the cut will be just inside. The right side, now work the left side. And move your body with the cut to try and get a nice continuous flowing curve, but these aren't finishing cuts. I'm going to switch to the skew chisel here. This gives me smooth flowing curves for the most part. Sometimes you can just see the curve right from the top line to the bottom. being able to carry a curve through like that is extremely helpful for this piece. So the quality of this piece is really, and its success of even coming off the lathe, relies on this ball here being as spherical as possible. You see right here where the ball meets the handle, my initial mark is a little further to the right. That's because that mark is geometrically a bit more theoretical when you actually think about a ball meeting a handle, because we're out a diameter away. We've worked the right side, now let's work the left side here. You can always come back to the right side, but for the most part that's how I process it. With a long point down of the skew, this cut for me is much easier. You can see my movements and the little ridges left behind, but for the most part, this is resulting in an ample shape. Just keep on sneaking up on that sphere as you see it. Being able to just see the sphere without measurement or anything it really comes with practice. For the most part that looks good to me. I just need to take away this line because we know that area was only rough turned. And I don't want a flat spot, so I have to feather this wide and far into the shape. Generally speaking, the error I make the most is making a sphere that is too long along the length of the lathe. I don't often get short, squatty ones. As you attempt this project, you'll see what your tendencies are. Your eyes will get drawn to a flat spot or a non-continuous curve, and you'll work it out. Cut away a little near the headstock, and now let's move on to the handle. Spindle gouge roughs nicely. You can start to see a little bit of a form come out. Can't quite have all the length of this wood because of the way the tailstock cone is pointing in. Don't want that as part of the end piece. I love these cuts with the skew with the long point down. You can just get a graceful flowing curve and it can start intersecting another curve so cleanly. That's about all we need to do here. The looks of the flowing curves really work for me. Just toss 3 little burned lines in here. Use a fishing lead here. It's essentially a very thin braided stainless steel cable. This one's been running years for me. Let's not take too much time standing here. Sped it up for you. Sanded it, pull it off the lathe, and use some handsaw or something to carefully shape both of these nubby ends. We'll do a little whittling. And the sanding I like to do with a random orbital sander. You can put a nice fine 220 or 320 grit in there and just feather those surfaces in from the hand worked to the turned. Alright, let's get back to the lathe. I've got aluminum jaws in my chuck, and I've made a fresh set of these for this general size of scoop. I'm still tuning them. I've had a scoop fly out of these before. Generally self-destructs. So you'll see as I grip this scoop, I have to decide which way to orient the grain there, which is an important design element. As I grip this, you'll see I try and pull it out. It's a little shimmy dance I'm doing there. This one appears to be mounted how I like it. You can see that the handle is coming away just a little bit. This is going to affect how you scoop things with this scoop. These initial cuts are kind of testing the hold of this of this chucking apparatus. If the scoop starts to move, which it could, you'll see here, as you start a cut and you go to start another cut, what was once a crisp, clean circle will become a wobbly oval. But it looks like the sphere of this scoop came out well. If your sphere is not very spherical, the chuck will favor 2 jaws over 4, and you'll have only half the hold. So for the most part, we're lopping off the top here, getting a feel for how this wood is going to work with the gouge, and just hogging away wood. Now, we finally met the handle. To carefully cut this ghost image, you can't even see it. You have to cut where you know it to be. Go ahead and stop off and take small, fine cuts. And chase that line into the bowl. Make sure it's a continuous line. That's an important cut to make, because that makes the transition from the lip onto the handle. You can see it here. And the length of that, I wouldn't want that to intersect the burn lines. You'll see as you try it. Now we can really just start roughing this bowl. Get the speed a little bit higher. Chips are flying right into the propeller. Don't have to be pretty cuts. But as you get thinner, you now have a target of the exact surface that the inside of this bowl needs to be. So I close the flute, engage the gouge, then open it back up a little bit. You have a lot of opportunities to practice this cut right from the very rim down to the bottom of the bowl. This is where this asymmetrical bowl gouge grind comes in handy. If rotated one direction, it behaves like one gouge, and rotated another, it behaves like another. It's very important that this bowl be of even thickness all the way through, all the way down through the bottom. And the nice setup with this chuck is you can feel it with your fingers and see what needs to be done. There's really no guesswork here. Apparently the bottom needs to be thinned out and some curves feathered together. And favoring the right hand wing, the less swept back wing of the gouge here. You can't really see it, but you can tell based on the rotation of the flute here. And coming softly across the bottom of the bowl. And that should do it. Be 2 to 3 millimeters thick. We'll get some sanding done here. Look how I hold my left hand to my body. Because now that I've got the tool rest away, I don't have that safe line, knowing that I can't cross it. Sand in reverse. Some nice sharp 220 in reverse and in forwards is about all that this needs. This piece is practically ready for the kitchen. Grab my chuck key and release this. Looking pretty good.
Okay, so here we are back at the scoop. I think it turned out quite well. Of course, you already saw it at the start. I really like the slightly off-center handle with a little bit of carve into it. And the thinness is very attractive. It makes this piece feel very functional. You can hear how thin it is. Anyway, I really enjoy how this one turned out. It's fun the way that the growth rings are facing, and this wood, this mulberry, is just these colors are going to pop even more, and this is going to be a really helpful functional scoop. So I know that there's going to be a lot of interest in aluminum jaws. You saw them in action earlier. Here's a set you haven't seen in action. This is for a smaller chuck, and these will fit a scoop more of this size. These ones, you saw them on there. Here they are. I've drilled for my Vicmark chuck, done a little bit of shaping. This is nothing you can't do on your bandsaw. Just buy a chunk of aluminum. Of course, be extremely careful. And then I've got a little piece of leather here that I've glued in, and then I've turned it. There's some footage available of the making of these. Here it is, an array of scoops. There's more to come. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching.